Jaden leaned back in the chair, phone in hand, scrolling like he was waiting for recess instead of standing in a courtroom. His mother lightly touched his shoulder, a quiet attempt to get him to pay attention, but he barely flinched. Judge Caprio looked up from the docket, his calm eyes fixed on the boy. "Young man, I am speaking to your mother," he said, his tone measured but firm. The room fell into a tense hush, the low hum of the fluorescent lights the only sound. Even at 11, it was clear to Caprio that this attitude, this casual dismissal of rules and respect, would need a serious reality check. Miss Bell, the clerk, read the charges methodically. 3 unpaid parking citations, each carefully noted with date and location, totaling $450, plus a vehicle registration expired for 90 days and an additional $120 penalty. Lisa Johnson shifted uneasily, clutching her folder of receipts and notices, her tired eyes darting between her son and the judge. Jaden barely looked up, twirling a strand of his hoodie, his sneakers tapping against the tile floor. The contrast between the mother's concern and the boy's indifference was stark, and the weight of the courtroom seemed to press down, waiting for him to understand the consequences of ignoring rules and respect. Judge Caprio leaned forward slightly, resting his hands on the bench, his voice calm but deliberate. "Jaden, you may think this is boring. You may think it doesn't matter. But actions, even ones that seem small, like ignoring the law, have consequences. Respect, responsibility, accountability, these are things you learn early, or you learn the hard way." The boy's fingers froze on the screen, a flicker of awareness passing across his face. Caprio continued, "I'm going to make sure you understand what that means. Not because I want to punish you, but because I want you to grow into someone who values responsibility. And that starts right here, right now." The courtroom stayed quiet. Lisa Johnson's shoulders slumped slightly with relief that the lecture hadn't turned into a punishment yet, but she could see the lesson sinking in. Jaden's jaw tightened, eyes shifting from his phone to the judge, a flicker of curiosity and maybe a hint of fear emerging. This was the moment where a lifetime of lessons could begin, and Judge Caprio knew it. Calm, patient, and deliberate, he had the attention of a boy who thought he could treat a courtroom like a playground, and he intended to make every second count. The courtroom hummed with quiet anticipation as Judge Caprio's eyes landed on Lisa Johnson. "Miss Johnson, how do you plead?" he asked calmly, yet with that unmistakable authority that instantly drew attention. "Guilty, Your Honor," she admitted, her voice tight but honest. "I know my registration is overdue. I've been trying to." Before she could finish, her son Jaden jumped in, scrolling through his phone with barely a glance at the judge. "Dad would have handled it already. He never let stuff like this get out of hand." A heavy silence fell across the room. Judge Caprio's gaze shifted to the boy, sharp and unwavering. "Excuse me," the judge said firmly. "I said my dad would have paid it," Jaden repeated, shrugging as if this explained everything. "He's always on top of this stuff." Disrespect had officially entered the record before the fines even had a chance to. Judge Caprio placed his pen down, taking a moment to gather his words. "And young man, what is your name?" "Jaden," he muttered, still half absorbed at his phone. "Jaden, I am speaking to your mother right now," Judge Caprio said evenly. "You will have your turn when I ask. Do you understand?" "Whatever," Jaden muttered again, clearly unconcerned. Lisa Johnson's face tightened with frustration and embarrassment. "Jaden, please," she said quietly. The judge turned back to Lisa. "Miss Johnson, please explain the situation." She inhaled slowly, trying to steady herself. "Your Honor, I work as a CNA at Providence General Hospital. I put in double shifts almost every week. My car failed inspection in July, and the repairs would cost $800. I had to make a choice between paying for the repairs or keeping my registration current. I chose to keep working. I needed to get to my shifts on time, and the bus schedule doesn't match my hours." Judge Caprio nodded thoughtfully. "And the parking tickets?" "I parked near the hospital on the street. I didn't realize those spots had meters after 6 p.m. I thought night parking was free." Jaden muttered under his breath, "'Cause Mom never reads the signs." The small remark caused a stir in the gallery. Judge Caprio's voice dropped, calm but sharp. Jaden, in this courtroom, you will not speak to your mother that way. Do you understand me? Jaden looked up briefly. I'm just telling the truth. That's enough. Respect is mandatory here, Caprio said firmly. The boy returned to his phone, and the judge made a quiet note. Turning back to Lisa, he asked, is Jaden's father involved in his life or financially responsible? Lisa's voice tightened with the familiar tension of her story. Not really, Your Honor. He's 6 months behind on child support, $4,800. And visitation? The judge inquired. Every other weekend. If he actually shows up, she admitted. Judge Caprio leaned forward, his eyes keen. And when he does see Jaden, what does he tell him about you? Lisa hesitated, clearly pained. Jaden cut in again before she could respond. He says Mom only comes to court because she likes drama. Says she could afford stuff if she managed money better. The courtroom was tense. Every eye followed the small boy, the mother, and the judge as the weight of family struggles collided with the law. Judge Caprio turned his calm but piercing gaze toward Jaden. And you trust what your father tells you? He asked. Jaden shrugged, not even glancing up. He's not wrong. Mom's always broke. Dad buys me stuff. New shoes, this phone, my PlayStation. He takes care of me. Does he pay your mother child support? Caprio asked quietly, pen poised over paper. Jaden rolled his eyes. He says he doesn't have to. Says Mom can't make him. The judge made a deliberate note, his face unreadable. His pen moved slowly, methodically. Then Jaden's phone buzzed loudly, shattering the silence. The ringtone echoed sharply through the courtroom. Jaden glanced at the screen. That's Dad. I gotta take this. Do not answer that phone, Judge Caprio said sharply, his tone leaving no room for argument. But Jaden swiped anyway. Yeah, Dad. We're in court. Mom's acting like she can't pay her tickets again. Lisa Johnson reached toward the phone. Jaden, hang up, she whispered urgently. Caprio's voice cut through again, steady and commanding. End that call and hand the phone to Officer Rodriguez immediately. Jaden pulled the phone back, his small hands clenching it like a shield. You can't take my phone. My dad's going to sue. He says judges can't take private property. Officer Rodriguez stepped forward calmly, hands empty, letting the boy hold the device. He didn't grab or force, he simply waited. Judge Caprio's voice lowered to a dangerously quiet tone. Jaden, you have two choices. Hand the phone over now, or be removed from this courtroom, and your mother will continue without you. The boy hesitated, glancing at his mother, the bailiff, and the judge. The weight of the decision finally sank in. Slowly, he handed over the phone. Officer Rodriguez powered off and placed it carefully on the clerk's desk. Caprio's eyes held the room's attention as he looked from Jaden to the courtroom, then back at the boy. Tick, tick, tick. 5 seconds, 7, 10, 12. It was all the time it took for an 11-year-old to realize this was not his father's weekend. Jaden, Judge Caprio said softly but firmly, sit in the gallery. Do not speak unless I ask you a question. Do you understand? Jaden's voice was small, almost swallowed by the silence. Yes, yes. What? Yes, Your Honor. Jaden shuffled to the back row, sinking into his chair, eyes fixed on his hands. Judge Caprio turned his attention to Lisa Johnson. Miss Johnson, I want to acknowledge something first. You came here to handle traffic citations, not to have your child make this experience more difficult for you. Lisa wiped a tear from her cheek. Your Honor, it's been like this ever since his father left. I understand, and we'll address that. But first, let's focus on you, the judge said, opening her case file. He glanced at the dates, the fines, and the notes from the ticketing officer. Officer Kelly is present. Officer, could you step forward, please? A composed officer in his mid-40s approached the bench. Officer Kelly, you issued these 3 citations to Ms. Johnson's vehicle. Can you describe what you observed? Yes, Your Honor. Each time, the car was parked legally, no fire hydrants, no crosswalk violations, but the meters had expired. The first 2 were downtown, near the hospital. The third was on Hope Street, close to a pharmacy. Did you see the driver at any point? Caprio asked. No, Your Honor. I only observed the vehicle. It appeared clean, well-maintained, and had a current inspection sticker. Nothing indicated it was abandoned or neglected. So, a working mother parked near her job and simply forgot to feed the meter? Exactly, Officer Kelly replied. Judge Caprio nodded and returned his gaze to Lisa. Miss Johnson, you came here, you didn't ignore the tickets, and you told the truth. That honesty matters. Thank you, Your Honor, she said softly. Here's what we're going to do, he continued. Your total fines add up to $570. I am reducing that to $50, payable over 90 days. Lisa's voice trembled. Your Honor, I will not punish a working mother for choosing rent over registration. I'm just trying to survive and show up for patients at the hospital. That's what matters. Caprio's expression softened, and that is why the city should give you room to breathe. Thank you for your service. Then the judge's gaze shifted to the back of the courtroom. Now, we need to address your son. The room went still. Jaden, come forward, Judge Caprio said, gesturing toward the podium. The boy rose slowly and walked beside his mother. Do you know why you're here today? The judge asked. Because Mom got tickets, Jaden muttered. No, you're here because your mother is working hard to survive, and you made it harder, Caprio said firmly. Jaden's eyes dropped. You are 11 years old when it's time to obey, yet act 21 when it's time to insult. That can't be both, the judge continued. Your father is 6 months behind on child support, $4,800. That's money your mother needs for food, rent, and transportation. Meanwhile, he's buying you sneakers, phones, and games. Do you know what that is? No, Your Honor, Jaden whispered. Performance. Your father performs. Your mother works. And you can't even tell the difference, Caprio said, voice firm. She feeds you, drives you to school, works double shifts, and you just stand here calling her broke. That's unfair, disrespectful, and stops today. Courtrooms repair what living rooms ignore. The judge picked up a form. Jaden Johnson, you are ordered to complete 30 hours of community service at the Providence Senior Day Center. Saturdays, 9 a.m. to noon, for 10 weeks. You will sign in, sign out, and submit a log to the court. Jaden's eyes widened. But I have basketball. You'll learn to respect the person who pays for your basketball, Caprio said. This is not punishment for poverty. It is correction for disrespect. You treated your mother like she had no value in front of strangers. Now you will spend 10 weeks serving those who cannot serve themselves. Maybe then you'll understand sacrifice. Lisa whispered, Your Honor, he's only 11. With respect, that's the problem, Caprio said, leaning forward. At 11, he's already learned to disrespect the woman who raised him. If we don't correct it now, at 21, he will be just like his father, and I won't let that happen. Stand next to your mother and look at her, he instructed. Jaden turned, his gaze landing on her red, tear-streaked face. Say what you did. His voice barely audible. I said she was broke. Louder, the judge urged. I said she was broke. I said Dad was better. I answered the phone. I embarrassed her. Now tell the truth, Caprio said firmly. She's the one paying. She's tired. I made it worse, Jaden admitted. Lisa's tears flowed freely. Judge Caprio nodded. You may hug her. Jaden wrapped his arms around his mother. She held him tightly. Silence filled the courtroom, heavy but restorative. Judge Caprio let them have the moment, then spoke again. Miss Johnson, you may sit. Jaden, stay standing. Lisa obeyed, releasing her son. Jaden stood alone at the podium, fidgeting slightly, eyes fixed on the floor. Judge Caprio scanned the case file, then looked toward the back of the courtroom as if addressing someone absent but very present in this moment. This next part is for the record. He began, his voice calm but cutting, and it is directed to the non-custodial parent listening, even if secondhand. You are 6 months behind on child support, yet your influence is loud and clear in this child's behavior. You've taught him that love can be measured in dollars, that parenting equals gifts, and that the woman who sacrifices every day is somehow less important than the man who shows up sporadically with a shopping bag. He paused, letting the words sink in. Money without morals produces exactly what we witness today. A boy who believes disrespect is acceptable as long as someone buys him sneakers. That ends now, because influence is a form of custody too. And your neglect has cost your son 10 Saturdays he could have spent learning responsibility and respect. Murmurs rippled through the gallery as people nodded in agreement. Judge Caprio turned his gaze back to Jaden. You will begin this Saturday at 9 a.m. at the Providence Senior Day Center on Cranston Street. Your mother will drive you. You will assist with serving meals, help residents, and tidy up afterwards. Staff that will supervise your work. Miss a session without a valid excuse, and you will return to this courtroom, and I will extend your hours. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor, Jaden replied quietly. Any questions? No, Your Honor. Good. Officer Rodriguez, return the phone, Judge Caprio commanded. Rodriguez handed the phone to Lisa Johnson, not to Jaden. The judge fixed his gaze on her. Miss Johnson, this device is yours now. He will earn it back when he earns your trust. Lisa nodded, slipping the phone into her purse. Judge Caprio picked up his gavel. This court is adjourned. Miss Johnson, see the clerk about your payment plan. Jaden, I'll see you in 10 weeks. The gavel came down. Case 2025, PK 1184, Johnson matter. Jaden walked to the podium beside his mother, hands empty, shoulders squared. No phone, no interruptions. He waited patiently for Judge Caprio's prompt to speak. Jaden, the judge began, you've completed all your community service hours. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor, Jaden replied, voice steady. And what did you learn from these 10 weeks? Jaden took a deep breath. I learned that Mom isn't broke. She's the one who pays the bills, the fines, the rent. Dad's gifts don't pay for anything real. They don't fix problems. They don't make life work. Judge Caprio nodded, encouraging him to continue. And what else? I learned that at the senior center, no one cares what shoes you're wearing or what toys you have. They care if you show up, if you help, if you're kind. And Mom, she's been showing up for me my whole life. And I treated her like she wasn't enough. She's more than enough. She's everything. Judge Caprio turned to Lisa Johnson. Miss Johnson, have you noticed a change at home? Lisa smiled, eyes misty. Yes, Your Honor. He's been different, helping his little sister, doing homework without reminders, and he doesn't talk about his father's gifts anymore. Judge Caprio looked back at Jaden. And the next time your father buys something and says negative things about your mother, what will you do? I'll thank him for the gift, and then I'll tell him that Mom is the one who makes sure I have what I truly need, not just what I want. Good answer, the judge said, leaning back. He stamped the file. Community service obligation fulfilled. Jaden Johnson, you are released from court supervision. Your mother may return your phone if she believes you've earned it. Thank you, Your Honor, Jaden said softly. One more thing, the judge added. The senior center called. They'd like to offer you a summer volunteer position, paid 15 hours a week. Are you interested? Jaden looked at his mother, who nodded. Yes, Your Honor. I'd like that. Judge Caprio smiled. Then it's yours, Miss Johnson. The center will reach out with the details. You came into this courtroom frustrated, defiant, and divided. You're leaving whole, stronger, and wiser. That is exactly what this courtroom is for. The gavel fell. Later that afternoon, Judge Caprio made a journal entry. An 11-year-old insulted his mother openly in court. I gave him 10 Saturdays to learn what she's worth. He returned a changed boy. Respect has no age limit. Accountability has no expiration date. Miss Bell knocked and handed him an envelope. Inside was a note from Lisa Johnson. Your Honor, thank you for seeing what I couldn't. Jaden is a different kid. I'm a different mom. We're learning together. Attached was a photo of Jaden and Lisa at the senior center, smiling and wearing volunteer badges. Judge Caprio pinned it to his bulletin board alongside other families he had helped guide. Because courtrooms aren't only for punishment, they're for rebuilding. He came in bigger than his mother. He left smaller than her sacrifices, finally able to see them. 2 months later, Jaden Johnson strolled into the senior center on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. He wasn't there to volunteer, just to visit. Mr. Leone spotted him and waved. Jaden, you here to try and beat me at chess again? Maybe, Jaden replied with a grin. If you're ready to lose. They set up the board and started playing. Halfway through, Mr. Leone leaned back. "Hey, you still carrying that fancy phone your dad bought you?" "Yeah," Jaden admitted, "but I only use it when Mom says I can." "Smart kid." "Not really," Jaden said, shaking his head. "I had to learn the hard way." Mr. Leone moved his knight. "That's how most of us learn, son, the hard way." Jaden carefully adjusted his bishop. "Mr. Leone, can I ask you something?" "Of course. When you were my age, did you ever disrespect your mom?" Mr. Leone smiled, a shadow of memory crossing his face. "Once. My father heard me and made me apologize in front of the entire neighborhood. I was so embarrassed I cried." "Did you ever do it again?" "Never," Mr. Leone said firmly. "Because respect isn't optional, it's required. Especially for the people who love you most." Jaden nodded, moved his rook, and glanced up. "Checkmate." Mr. Leone laughed. "How do you always win?" "Because I've been losing longer than you've been alive," he said. "You learn more from losses than wins, kid." "Yeah, I'm starting to figure that out," Jaden replied. At 4 p.m., Lisa Johnson arrived to pick him up. He climbed into the car, silently. No complaints, no attitude. "How was your visit?" she asked. "Maybe next time," she said. They drove in quiet for a minute. Then Jaden spoke again. "Mom, I'm sorry for what I said in court and how I acted." "You already apologized." "Honey," Lisa said gently. "I know, but I don't think I said it enough," he admitted. Lisa pulled over and turned to him. "Jaden, you didn't just apologize. You changed. That's bigger than words." "You really think so?" "I know so," she said, smiling. They hugged. Then Lisa reached over and handed him his phone. "You earned it back." Jaden looked at the device, then back at her. "Can I keep it in my backpack? I don't really need it right now." "Sure. You're sure?" "Yeah, I'm good," he said. That evening, in Judge Frank Caprio's office, the photo of Jaden and Lisa at the senior center stayed pinned to the bulletin board. A small reminder that respect isn't learned in a single hearing. It's rebuilt one day, one Saturday, and one choice at a time.